All right, we are starting, and let's see if I can see the people are pouring in. Hello, everyone. Salom behamegi. We're starting right on time to get the precedent going. All of our classes, we have live classes for this Chai Conversation Bootcamp. Let it be known that we start on time, not Persian time. There's some confusion sometimes. Salom behamigi. Hello, everyone. So in the comments, please let us know where you are, where you're located. I am right now visiting family in Dallas because it's Nowruz, and so you go visit family. Nowruz was on Monday, so I'm here right now. Hajj on your Algeria. Hajj is our most reliable. We know that Hajj will be there. It's wonderful to see you back. Bristol, UK, Germany, Hawaii, hello, aloha, Dubai, Midland, Texas, hello, Texas, wonderful, Peru, Netherlands, so many places, Los Angeles, Minnesota, Tampa. Is there anybody from the Southern Hemisphere? Australia, is Stephanie Pierce here? I know that she calls in from the Southern Hemisphere. They are celebrating Nowruz, even though they are going into the autumn. It makes no sense, but that's that's what we do. All right, thank you everyone for coming in. I'm Layla, and these are my dear Chai Conversation team members, Chadwick and Farnaz, and we'll introduce ourselves in a minute. We'll just give everyone a minute to come in. More Peruvians, lots of Peruvians. Pakistan, Nowruz Piruz, thank you. Kheli Mamnoon. So anyway, as I was saying, I'm in Dallas right now doing Eid Didani, and Farnaz is my aunt, Khale Farnaz. She's also in Dallas, but Chadwick is holding it down in Austin, which is our Chai Conversation headquarters. And there's actually been a lot of Nowruz events happening. I don't know if you knew that, Chadwick. But there was an event at Nixta Taqueria yesterday. And I hope that everyone has their chai. Ohio, wonderful. Solen no Mubarak, everyone. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We're super excited about this. So this is our boot camp kickoff. And so our boot camp is a 6-week program in which either you're going to get started with your Persian learning journey, or you're a returning member. Hopefully we have some returning members this time. I've actually made a couple of polls so I can find out if indeed you are a returning member or a new member. But welcome to all the new people, and welcome to people that are returning. Someone says, is it weird to go to a Nowruz event even if you're not Persian? Not at all. Iranians love to share our culture with other people. I think this is across the board. I've never met an Iranian who isn't delighted by sharing their culture. You know, we love to share these traditions. It's a not a religious holiday. It's not tied to any particular ethnicity or race. And so especially Nowruz is something where we all come together. If you go to Persepolis, actually, there's all these imagery in Persepolis that shows people from all over the world back when it was the Persian Empire going and giving a gift to the Persian king for Nowruz. And so that was the hallmark of the Persian Empire, was that everyone was allowed to keep their religion, they were allowed to keep their traditions. So you see all these different people with different clothing coming in and bringing a gift that's particular to their region to the king. So it's a holiday that we like to share with everyone. It's the coming of spring. No one owns that. We can all see that the spring is coming. We can all enjoy it. So I think that is, and someone says, be prepared to be fed if you attend. Exactly. Iranians love to share food. It's a big part of our culture to share food and to share our traditions. So there we go. And okay, so I'm going to put this poll out here. I'm launching this. This is the first time that I'm doing this. It just said poll, and I said, okay, let's try it. So have you done a boot camp before? Let me know. So in the last presentation, I mentioned that we want to do this concept of perpetual boot camp. So I'll explain that later. But anyway, welcome to Chai Conversation. Let's go ahead and start the presentation. So I wanted to start with this saying, which is Har Ruzetan Nowruz, Nowruzetan Piruz. So in Trying Conversation, this kind of shows our teaching methodology. We always have everything that we learn in English phonetic, and then we have the English meaning, and then we also put the Persian script. We recently did a whole redo of our website where all of our learning materials also include Persian script in them. Before we had all mainly English phonetic in our speaking program, but now everything is included. So what does this phrase mean? Har ruzetan Nowruz. So we've heard this word Nowruz a lot. Obviously, it means new day, and it's our word for the new year. So it has a couple kind of double meaning. Har ruzetan Nowruz literally means may every day be a new day. But because it doubles as the meaning of Nowruz, like the new year, it's saying may every day be a new beginning. May every day be a new chance to start. And Nowruzetan Piruz, we hear this a lot this year, especially. There's a few different ways to say Happy Nowruz. And, there's Nowruz Mubarak, Happy Nowruz, Sal No Mubarak, Happy New Year. This year, we're hearing a lot this word Piruz, which is also Farnaz's son's name, actually, and it means victorious. So may your new year be victorious. And obviously, with everything that's happening in Iran right now, this takes a whole big meaning. So may this be a victorious year for everyone in the world, and especially those in Iran right now dealing with all the difficulties in Iran. So let's try saying this all together. Har ruzetan Nowruz, Nowruzetan Piruz. And this is another big part of Trying Conversation is in all of the lessons, when I say a word, I want you to repeat it after me. And that is the best way to learn, to repeat these words out loud. So that is something that we want to practice right off the bat. So moving on. So a little bit about Trying Conversation. If you've been with me for a while, you've heard all this stuff before. So I'm going to try to go through it a little bit quickly. But Trying Conversation started in 2010. As a podcast, a free podcast. And all of our lessons are still available for free via podcast. And a lot of them are also available on YouTube for free as well. That's a big part of our program. We want it to be accessible to everyone. But then we also have the learning materials. So even in the beginning, when I made these programs, when I had the podcast, I also created these PDF guides for each lesson. And each time I would release a podcast episode, I sold these lesson guides via PayPal for $1 each. So people would, send me $1 via PayPal. I would send them the lesson guide, just email, very low tech, very simple process. And that I continued on that for years. I just continued to build lessons very slowly until Chadwick and I partnered up. And Chadwick is a tech guru. He knows how to do everything. And he came in and he really systematized our processes. He made worked on our website and created a really wonderful website system. And really, it was with Chadwick's help that we were able to take this project to the next level and make it into what you see today, which is a complete course system for speaking Persian, reading and writing, and Persian poetry. Chadwick's internet is a little bit slow, but if you want to just say hello, Chadwick.
Hi, everybody.
and
Plane overhead right now. Hello from Austin, Texas.
Yeah, the internet's a little bit spotty, but if you ever email us, you often hear from Chadwick. So that is that. And this was the first iteration of our website, by the way. This was our little header. And fast forward to now. So this article came out a few months ago about this project and how it's a really good article. I should have thought to link to it, but basically it explains how this project started, and really it started in 2010 after 9/11 had happened. There was always talk of perhaps going to war with Iran. There was always talk of sanctions. And so this project was a way to introduce people to the Iranian culture, away from the negative headlines. And we've continued to do that work until today. Now, Iran is going through a lot. I did always try to keep politics out of the program, but right now things that are going on in Iran are not political, they're human rights issues, and we do talk about it often in our program. And we've been doing this boot camp in this current iteration where we have this community aspect of it since last summer. And so the second boot camp that we did began just a few days before Mahsa Amini's death. And it really became an opportunity for people to talk and to build community with one another and to, I think that it really spoke to the unity that we are feeling as an Iranian community, both Iranians and non-Iranians, both the people in Iran and those outside of Iran, and people who can't speak Persian, people who can't speak Persian. Since these protests have begun, since this revolution has begun in Iran, I'm getting so many messages from people saying that they've never felt more proud to be Iranian, and this has made them want to learn the Persian language. So I'm very happy that you're all here, that we have this platform that we can explore these feelings together. So last year, our Nowruz, we had a brand new website. So this was our project for last year, and it came online last year, and you all can enjoy the website now in its current iteration. It's something that we worked on for years and years, and it finally came out last year. We're still working on updating every piece of the website. Our graphics were done by Mina Jafari, which a lot of you know. She's a wonderful artist out of DC. And the Speak program is all updated. The Persian poetry program is all updated. Reading and writing is still not updated. So when you go into that program, you'll see that we still have old graphics, but we are working on that next. And so this is our new website, our new logo that you can see with the chai. We're super happy with it and feel like it really represents us well. So just quickly, let's talk about the challenges of learning the Persian language and why this boot camp is what we feel is a good answer to that, and why our program is a good answer to this. So if any of you saw, I just released a video about my economic theory of learning the Persian language, which is that learning Persian doesn't really have any business applications. And I think that this is why there aren't a lot of resources that teach Persian. So I know for a fact that Duolingo has no plans on adding Persian to its platform. Apparently they expanded very quickly, and now they're trying to scale back, and there's no Persian program in the works. So that's one of the most popular language platforms out there. So we don't have that. There's things like Rosetta Stone, but Rosetta Stone just teaches formal. Pimsleur has a good program, but it doesn't really go very far. So why is it that none of these platforms have stepped up to add a Persian program? I think it's because, there's no business application to it. People that are learning are only learning because either they're related to someone who's Iranian, or they grew up in an Iranian household, or they are just interested in the culture or the food or something like that. So like I say, I think that the main reason that people learn the Persian language is for love. And because of this, it's been kind of neglected by the major players. Another challenge is that there's a different script for learning Persian, and this turns a lot of people off. I've looked at so many different Persian teaching resources, and they start off trying to teach you how to read and write immediately. And it's a big barrier. It's not a quick win to start learning. So when we created our program, we made it so that you can just learn with using English phonetic script. You don't have to learn the script immediately. In the year since about 4 years ago, we added our reading and writing program, because I do think that that is also an important part of learning the language. It unlocks a part of your brain when you learn to read and write that really makes the language learning bloom for you in a way. And you'll see that in the boot camp. You'll have access to our reading and writing program. I encourage you to go down that track as well, but you don't have to know immediately how to read in order to start learning. The other challenge is that spoken Persian and written Persian are extremely different. So for example, programs like Rosetta Stone only teach you the written form. which you sound ridiculous if you're talking with the written form. And I'll show examples of that in a second. The other challenge is that it's a misunderstood culture. There's negative stereotypes about Iranians. There's negative stereotypes about the Persian language. Even I see comments all the time on my videos and things that say, who would ever want to learn Persian? Why would anyone want to learn this? That still happens. So I think that for that reason, the major players have not stepped up to teach this language. So we've had this language platform for, I guess it's going on 13 years now, Italian Conversation. So we have been slowly adding lessons, slowly working on it, and we've gotten it to the point that it is today. And I always say from the beginning, I thought eventually someone with a lot more resources than we have is going to come along and, create this huge program that, blows us out of the water. And it just has not happened. So we've continued to do what we're doing. And I think at this point we have a really robust program that is not easy to find anywhere else. So here's an example that I wanted to show of the differences between spoken Persian and written Persian. So here I put the formal conjugation. I really should have put the written, because it's not formal as in if you're talking to someone who's older than you, you need to speak this way. It's just a difference of the written version versus spoken. So for example, when you're speaking, you say una anha, you'd say una hastan. The written is una hastand, for they are. So in the written, you have the de form. When you speak it, it gets dropped. You won't ever see it written that way though. So it's hard to know when you're learning that that's how you would say it. So that's one example. Or you are written is hastid, but no one says hastid. Everyone says hastin. This is a funny, just thing that you need to know about spoken versus written. And it also, there's the way that children learn is just by listening to people talk and learning that way. They don't learn through like these grammar rules. So we tried to create our program that way too. Think about how children learn, what things you would learn first. So once you start going through our program, you'll see that it's a lot about repetition, hearing things, hearing conversations, and learning that way. So our Italian conversation method. So some of these I've said before, so I'm going to go pretty quickly through this, but we teach only conversational Persian from the beginning, like you would learn if you're a kid. We learn how people talk, and you learn that way. Later on in the program, we have grammar lessons. We have all those things because it's important to have a basis to know why things are the way they are, but you don't start off learning that. Like I said, we include the English phonetic script so that you start learning right away. We focus on building confidence and getting the ball rolling to learn, not perfection. So, I know that, getting started learning anything is the hardest part. Once you get started, you can keep going and you can keep learning. So that's what we try to do with this boot camp, is help you to get started with a group of others just like you. And don't worry about knowing the perfect grammar. Don't worry about knowing the perfect words. Just keep going and you'll learn. Everything is easy if you do it a little bit at a time. I learned this from Daniel Tiger, and also Yo-Yo Ma says this all the time, that he learned playing cello when he was 4 years old by learning just one piece of Bach concerto at a time. And, every day he would practice just one little piece until he learned the entire concerto. And I think that learning a language is the same way. So with this boot camp, we just teach you a little bit at a time. And before you know it, you are going to be able to speak Persian. So in 2022, like I said, we started these boot camps and tried to focus on building community. And so we started with this app called Circle, that a lot of you are a part of right now. That's our community website. And it's been a lot of fun. We've been iterating and we've been, learning as we go. The current iteration, we have just been learning and asking questions and listening to feedback. And so 2023, we're going to continue to do that. In addition, we have plans for new lessons at a more advanced level. So we are going to continue to do that. There's a lot happening in 2023, so we're very excited about that. And we have had really good feedback on our program, and I appreciate all the feedback. I like to say that this is kind of a crowdsourced type of program. We really, from the beginning, asked for feedback as we went along, and really take that feedback to heart. So we appreciate any ideas that you have for us. Please send them our way. I say, no one is coming out to save us and to provide us a way to learn the Persian language. It's just us. So think of me as your teammate in creating this product. And I'd love to hear what you think. And we do send like a survey at the end of the boot camp. We have a really good retention rate of people that start the boot camp and really enjoy the program and continue with us. So, and I think a lot of you are with us right now. And then I quickly wanted to say that our Persian poetry program just launched actually a few months ago. And this was part of the Speak program, and now it's its own separate program. And I like to say that this is kind of the crown jewel of the Chai Conversation program. It's very unique to our program. Poetry is such a big part of Iranian culture, and we wanted to really honor that by making its own program. Iranians often learn poetry at the same time that they learn how to speak. It's a big part of our culture to memorize poetry. And so this program is intended for complete beginners of Persian all the way to advanced levels. So you can get out of it whatever you need. What we do is we start teaching a poem, and we first talk about just the feelings behind the poem, the general idea. And then in subsequent lessons, we teach the individual words and phrases of the poetry and teach you how to use that in everyday conversation. So it's very unique. And a lot of times people are very skeptical at the beginning of the boot camp. You can read through their comments and see that they're skeptical about it, but at the end, it ends up being almost everybody's favorite part of the program. And if you can stick with it and actually memorize the poem, you will be very much rewarded. So now let's get to our boot camp of this 6-week boot camp. So this 6-week boot camp is intended as your trial to our program, but also last time I introduced the concept of perpetual boot camp, which is that each time the boot camp will have something for returning members. So it's both a jumping off point for new members and also a continuing point for people that have been with us. So what it has for new members is a way to start with the program. What it has for continuing members is a way to keep with a cohort of people and practice and, get swept up with that energy of the boot camp, to have the weekly topical practices and to learn a new poem each time and yeah, to be in this cohort and group. So when we have the boot camp, I would like everyone in Chai Conversation to be part of the boot camp. And then in the 6 weeks between the old boot camp and the new boot camp, complete your boot camp activities and get your final certificate, which I'll talk about in a minute. But also in that period of time, we will continue our conversation practices. We will continue learning shorter poems, which we call our Shabbos Share series. And so those are the two time periods that we'll have in our Chai Conversation program. So this is our current bootcamp itinerary. As you can see, we have 3 different levels, as I've said, although, again, we're workshopping all of this, so we'll see how it plays out. But we have a complete beginner level. This is for people completely new to the program who start with lesson 1. There's a reading and writing program. So that's also part of the beginner level. Or if you don't know how to read or write, if you know how to speak, you can do the reading and writing program. And then there's a not so beginner level. The not so beginner level, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, but has 2 different levels in that not so beginner. One is that you're actually a not so beginner where you've done the beginning lesson, so you know a little bit and you want to practice with a group of people and get instructions in the English language but practice things that you know. And then we also have the advanced immersion level, because a lot of you grew up in Iranian households and you just want a way to practice without judgment from, family members. You want to be able to make mistakes. Because a lot of people come and they say, well, I'm half Iranian, but I'm embarrassed when I go around family and I can't speak. And then they make fun of me or whatever. This is a judgment-free zone. Nobody's going to get made fun of. We are all practicing together and we're all getting better together. And so those are our practice conversations. Before, we used to have practice conversations for complete beginners. We are not doing that anymore, because in the beginning, I want you to focus on just learning. You don't have enough vocabulary to have a full conversation. So we were having these 1-hour classes where, people were practicing saying, hello, what's your name? Hello, what's your name? It's not enough to go through an hour. So instead, at the complete beginner level, we ask you to send in a video of yourself practicing what you've learned that week. It doesn't have to be a two-sided conversation. In week 4, we are going to have a conversation practice for complete beginners, but that won't happen until you have a little bit more to talk about. And so that's that. And then we have Omar Khayyam's Khoshbash. That's our poem for this time. And I'm going to let Farna speak about that in a second. I think that's our next slide. Oh, and then let's talk about, so these are our live conversation practices. So right now we're in this bootcamp kickoff. And then, like I said, there are 2 levels of not so beginner conversation practices. And I named these not so beginner conversation instructions in English, meaning this one is going to have more hand holding. It's going to have a little bit more obviously instructions in English, whereas advanced immersion is going to be all in Persian. And so this is for those people who want to push themselves a little bit, who are heritage speakers, who just want to practice in a judgment-free zone. So now I'm going to introduce Farnaz. She's my aunt and also a Persian language instructor for the past 20 years. I come from a family of Persian language instructors, so I have a lot of resources to draw on from that, which is very exciting. So Farnaz, can you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about our live
Yes, of course. Salam. Hello to everyone. My name is Farnaz. As Leila said, I'm her aunt and live in Dallas, Texas. I've had a background of teaching Farsi at least 20 plus years. And I'd say Happy Nowruz to everybody. Nowruz Mubarak. And actually, I'm very delighted to talk to you. I'm handling the weekly classes. And when you RSVP for the live classes, I will be working with you. And some of you have known me from the previous boot camps, and those of you who are new, I'm very happy to meet you also in these conversations. And I think this is a very beneficial program for everybody to get yourself an opportunity to actually dive into speaking, and without any fear of being judged or not being just labeled as not knowing the language. And it's been very pleasing to see your progress. I see a lot of you that started the boot camps but by the end of the boot camp, you could very easily hold a conversation. And I was very proud and very happy to see that. And I hope that will happen for every one of you in this boot camp. And welcome you to the boot camp.
All right, thank you. So actually, let me look at this Q&A. Why is it just not so beginners and not complete beginners on the list? Okay, so I hope I answered that. I hope I answered that question. But again, I'm going to say this is our 3rd iteration of bootcamp, of the 6-week bootcamp. And in the first 2, we did have more conversation practices for complete beginners. But again, we found that there wasn't enough to have an hour-long conversation with people. It's great to meet your fellow students and everything, but it seems counterproductive to throw you into that kind of conversation. Instead, we're going to have very specific conversation practices for complete beginners after you've had a couple weeks to learn. So I hope that that's clear for people. I'm gonna go. So if I'm a complete beginner, I should not join. That is correct. If you're a complete beginner, you should not join the conversation sessions yet. In the itinerary, when I send out the weekly itinerary, I will write join the live session. By the end of this week, we'll have the complete schedule for live sessions, and you'll see we'll have a specific poetry live session for everyone that includes complete beginners, and then we will have specific complete beginner conversation practices. But the ones for now, the first 3 or 4 weeks are going to be only for not so beginners. And I would say a lot of people aren't sure which level to join at. Just try them, just see. It doesn't hurt. You can join as many as you want. So just see, and I'm sure it'll vary weekly, the people that are in your class, but just know that this instructions in English, you'll get instructions in the English language. Farnaz will do a little mini lesson at the beginning to kind of help you out a little bit more. There will be more hand holding. You'll be able to use your cheat sheets more. In the advanced immersion level, I expect you to just go for it and practice and maybe go off topic. And so like I said, for like heritage speakers. Okay. So I hope that answered the questions. If you have any more questions, put that in the Q&A. That's an easy way for me to see questions that I need to answer. So now Khayyam, we want to talk a little bit about our poem. So this is one of my favorite poems and one that I learned to memorize from a long time ago. My grandfather taught this to me. It was a really important poem to him. I just love this poem. And it's a lot shorter and less challenging than the poem that we learned for the last boot camp. If you were part of the last boot camp, it was a long piece. So sometimes we'll have longer poems like that, which it was a modern poem. So the language might be a little bit more familiar, but this is a short and sweet poem that everybody can memorize. And it's talking about being in the moment. And I thought it was a really lovely poem for Nowruz. And Farnaz, I wanted to see if you could introduce Khayyam a little bit to me, or to us, and tell us when he was writing poetry and a little bit about him.
Of course, yes. Omar Khayyam lived by the years 1048 to 1131, was a Persian polymath, known for his contributions to mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, and poetry. He was born in Neshabur, the initial capital of the Seljuk Empire. As a scholar, he was he was contemporary with the rule of the Seljuk dynasty around the time of the First Crusade. As a mathematician, he was most notable for his work on the classification and solution of the cubic equations, where he provided geometric solutions by the intersection of conics. And Khayyam was also contributed to the understanding of the parallel axiom. These are all mathematical terminologies, and he was also known for that understanding of the parallel axioms. And as an astronomer, he calculated the duration of the solar year with the remarkable precision, and that it created the current calendar that is still being used even after a millennium. And it is that precise that after a millennium, it is still accurate, and it is being useful for calculation of every, like the New Year calculation, what the time of the New Year that is happening in even after thousands of years. And also there is a tradition of attributing poetry to Omar Khayyam, written in the form of quatrains, which is referred to as the Rubaiyat. And this poetry actually became widely known to the English reading world in a translation that was made by Edward Fitzgerald. And the name of that book was Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. And of course, his information is actually his poems in other forms is also being used and being read all around the world, basically in the form of rubaiyat. This is what I can just briefly tell you about Khayyam, very briefly. He has had a lot of other contributions to science and poetry. Well, that doesn't really serve the time that we are having today. So this is what, this is what I wanted to tell about Khayyam.
All right, thank you. So a couple of points here. One is how much science and poetry have always been linked in Iranian culture. So these poets that we read, they were, Renaissance men. They had, a lot of contributions, the sciences. And so again, this is very relevant to Nowruz. He was the one who came up with the calendar, who came up with this precise system of setting the calendar. And also, he was an existentialist, someone said in the chat. So Edward Fitzgerald's translation of his works were read by Thoreau, were read by Walt Whitman. He was very influential to all of these other modern day thinkers. And the general idea of this poem is really to enjoy the moment, about joy, about life, and it's very life affirming. So again, I'm super excited for us all to learn this wonderful poem. Let me look through so how many live interactions? There's more questions about the bootcamp or about the live classes, which let me share my second poll now. Let me see. So first of all, most people here are new. Hello, everyone. Okay, bootcamp level. Oh, did it already launch it? Okay, the poll has been launched. So your bootcamp level. So let me know. What level will you be joining at? And this is not binding. You can look through each week with the assignments and say, okay, there's not, poll has been launched. Does anybody see? No, nobody sees my poll. Okay. Let's see. Launch. A poll has been launched. Okay, I have to close the other poll, I guess. End poll. Okay. And then now I'm going to launch the second poll. Okay, there you go. So this is not binding. You can choose your level. And someone asked if they can just join in a not so beginner conversation. Yes, absolutely. You'll see that this first week, the not so beginner conversation practice is about introductions. I put the lessons that you need to listen to in order to participate. There's 2 lessons this time. It's lesson 3 and lesson 4. So they're beginner lessons. And it's about learning to introduce yourself. And so if you want to try joining a conversation practice, even if you are a beginner, it's not a problem. Sure, go ahead and join. I encourage you to push yourself for sure. So at the end of the boot camp, one of the exciting things is that people that complete the boot camp in whatever level that they choose get this certificate of completion. So I always say the one non-negotiable part of this boot camp is the poetry section. So even if you have joined the boot camp and you already know how to read and write, you can let me know that. You don't have to do the reading and writing section. And then either you have to do the beginner and the poetry, or the not so beginner in poetry. Or, if you don't know how to read and write, you do need to do that section as well. But at the end, based on the lessons that you marked complete on the website, you send me a message and I go through all of your work and make sure that you've done it all and issue these certificates of completion. So our last boot camp had over 50 certificates of completion, which was very impressive. So all these people went through and completed the program. This time, this is our biggest boot camp yet. I keep saying that over and over again, that this will be our biggest boot camp. This one is definitely the biggest one yet. So I am expecting this group to really show up with these certificate of completions and everyone get one of these. So they're a lot of fun. You can print it out. You can put it on your wall. You can show your mother-in-law. She will be very impressed. And then I had this just to show our levels. So like I said, this is meant to be your trial for our program. So I would like everyone to join as many boot camps as you want, but please be aware that you only get one free trial to our website. Otherwise, everyone would just join boot camps forever. And while that would be wonderful, we want you to try out the program and then join us as a regular member. And we now actually have an extra, it used to be Speak and Poetry were one program, like we said. We now have separated those. There's Speak, Poetry, and then Reading and Writing. And then there's the All Access program where you get access to everything that we've ever done. And so we have an email that goes out to you if you are on the 60-day trial right now with a boot camp that lets you know that your trial is ending. And then at that point, you can choose whether to continue with us or not. It's very easy to cancel your subscription. You go to the account section at the top right of your screen, and there's a little button that you push. If you have any questions about that, you can also email us, and we're very responsive. So let me know in the comments, is there anybody who missed signing up for membership? I think that if you're here, it's because you definitely signed up and everything's done. But if anyone missed signing up for the 60-day free trial, you can email, here's my email address, let us know just in case. We don't want you to miss that. That is my email address. And now if there are no other questions, there's a lot of work to be done. So go into the community page and see the assignments. Every Monday, you're going to get an email with the list of assignments. Go through your track, either beginner, not so beginner, reading and writing, and the poetry, and see all the assignments that need to be done. There's a lot of interaction that happens here. I encourage you to reach out to your fellow classmates. You're going to get to meet a lot of your fellow classmates in our classes. We actually have a lot of live meetups happening. A lot of people email me. There was one this last week in Paris, actually, with a few of the students meeting together and seeing each other. So that's a lot of fun too, that we have this like global community of Persian learners that we could draw from now, either online or in person, which is really, really wonderful. And other than that, if there's no other questions, that is all we have to cover. I'm going to go, let me look through the, what advice do you have not only to speak Persian, but to also think in Persian? That's a big question. But we do get asked a lot about advanced materials. And like I said, we are working on more advanced lessons, both in the poetry, in the reading and writing, and in the speaking. There's a lot of plans for that, and we're working on it. But I think that one of the best things that you can do in general is watch Iranian movies. There's so many amazing Iranian movies that you can watch. They're available. I can't see my email. Okay, I'll type that again. Chadwick, can you type it in the chat too? Either my email or our general email. Yeah, there's a lot of amazing Iranian movies. Watch them and listen to different Persian materials like that. Also, there's a lot of great Iranian music there, and so listen to the music, watch the movies, and really try to practice in these live conversation practices that we have set up. So I think all of these things will help you to really get going with your Persian learning. Practicing is really important. So the live sessions that we have set up is really, really important. Can you please share the poem again? I could not see it. So Ramin, the poem is on our website. Is that the one that you're talking about, or the Khayyam poem is on our website? It is the lesson this week. So this week, the lesson or the assignment is to listen to the introductory lesson. Okay, is it 30 days free or 60 days? Well, it was, so on our website, we do have a 30-day trial of the program, but for this boot camp, until 2 days ago, we had a 60-day trial so that you could do the whole boot camp for free. If you are a new member and you didn't get that, then you can email us here and we'll get you set up. I listen to Persian rappers. Yes. Yeah, that's a great way to do it too. and lots of good movie suggestions to everyone. And quatrains are specific to Persian poets. No, I don't think so. I think that just that's the form that Khayyam used to, Khayyam specifically used. Not all Persian poets do that too. Okay, well, I think that's it. And welcome to the boot camp, everyone. I'm super excited. Like I said, it's our biggest boot camp yet. And I'm really excited to see how you guys do and to start sending those certificates out in 6 weeks. And if you have any questions, make sure to reach out. You can use that community platform that we have. The chat section is really exciting. We constantly check the chat. Farnaz is monitors that every single day. I try to look at it as often as I can. Chadwick sometimes pops in. Well, and so among the three of us, we will see your comments and be there with you. So thank you everyone for joining, and happy Nowruz, everyone. We are in the 13 days of Nowruz, so this can count as our Didobaz deed, which means to see and see again. If you saw my email this morning, which is the ritual of going to someone's house and, you know, sharing some chai with them. So hopefully you had some chai with me today. And so again, thank you everyone. Nowruz Mubarak, Nowruz Piruz, and see you in the boot camp. Khoda Hafiz, everyone. And thank you, Chadwick and Farnaz, for joining me. Khoda Hafiz.